Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a new series. I'm going to be starting a new series, and I asked on Twitter if you guys would be interested in this idea, and I got so many thumbs up on that tweet. Everyone was really excited for it. So I decided to go ahead and start it today, and the series idea was Carah's Top 10. And I am so excited to start this because I feel like I've been doing YouTube for like 8 or 9 years, I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like even though I've been on YouTube for that long, you guys still don't really know that much about me, really. So what I'm going to be doing with this series is basically going over my top 10 favorite things in each category. So like top 10 favorite albums, which is what I'm going to be doing today, top 10 favorite songs, top 10 favorite movies, books, music videos, YouTubers, pretty much anything that you guys want to see. I'll be telling you guys my top 10, and I think this is going to be so fun, and I love watching these videos. They're really interesting to watch, and so I would love it if other people did this as well, just because it's interesting to see if you have like similar things in common with like your favorite YouTubers, you know? So today I'm going to be doing my top 10 favorite albums of all time, and I have been stressing about this, honestly. Coming up with your top 10 of things like songs and albums and stuff like that is stressful because you're like, I really hope I'm not forgetting something like really important that I know I like, but I'm gonna do it anyways, and I put them in order from favorite to least favorite, but my top 10. Let me know if you want to see more of these or if you're excited about this series by thumbsing up this video, and also comment down below what you want to see in this series. And also let me know down below if you have a list of your top 10 favorite albums or if you agree with any of these. I'd be really curious to see what my subscribers say, especially with age, because I'm 32, so a lot of my favorite like songs, movies, and all of those things like come from the 90s or like early 2000s because I'm kind of a nostalgia freak. So it's just gonna be interesting to see what you guys say. So when I started this, I decided that I was going to only put each artist or each band in my top 10 one time. So I have to pick one of their albums. And the reason I did this is because usually if I like an artist, I'm gonna like all of their albums. So let's go ahead and just jump right into my top 10 favorite albums of all time. The number 10 spot actually goes to a band that I almost didn't put in my top 10, but I do love this album, and it is The Shins' Wincing the Night Away. And I really got into this band when I was in beauty school when Phantom Limb came out, and I just fell in love with that song. I have a very eclectic taste in music, I would say. I like pretty much anything except for country. I'm not a country fan at all, but I just tend to jump around from like genre to genre. There's just something about this album that I like because it's very soothing, it's very melodic, like it's just nice on your ears, you know, which I tend to like really hard sounding music, you know, like that really hard rock type music or just like very guitar-y type music. But Wincing the Night Away is just very soft. It kind of has like one of those like Beach Boyish type vibe, but like in the best way, not like in a corny way. And this album actually has one of my all-time favorite songs, which is called Sea Legs, and it's just such a beautiful song. It's just a good album. I love it, and it's always gonna be one of my top favorites. Next is one of those bands that when you hear it for the first time, you instantly like it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people, when they heard 21 Pilots, had the same reaction. It's like you hear the band and you're like, I'm a fan. You're like an Insta fan. And that's how I was with the Black Keys. And my favorite album by the Black Keys is The Rubber Factory. And this is my number 9 album. This album has the coolest sound to it. I love their voices. I love kind of like that echoey sound of the music. It's just very rough, very raw sounding, a little bit on the harsher side, and that's kind of like the music I like. Every single song on it is really good. I can literally listen to the whole album without skipping any songs. And I think Black Snake Moan, do you guys remember that movie with Christina Ricci? I think they used a lot of Black Keys in that movie. So it's just a great album. Definitely check it out if you haven't, or if you haven't heard of the Black Keys. Hopefully you guys have. They're just a solid band that I will always love. Number 8. So this was a really hard choice because I have 2 albums by this band that kind of blend together into one. Like, I listen to them so much that they just blend together as like one album. So I had to pick one, and I picked Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. And I was going between that and Meteora, but I picked Hybrid Theory because Hybrid Theory has more songs that I love. Like, they have more of my favorite songs on Hybrid Theory. And I have to say, I used to listen to Hybrid Theory so loudly in my car. Like, I'm surprised I'm not deaf. So my favorite songs on this album are Cure for an Itch, Paper Cut, and A Place for My Head. A Place for My Head is one of my favorite Linkin Park songs ever. I love the opening like lyrics of that song. It's one of my favorite like little section of lyrics. Actually, I've had that little like quote in my Facebook profile for like the past like 15 years. What happened this year is really, really sad. Chester and Linkin Park were just, they're one band that I never got to see in concert, and I highly, highly regret never trying to see them in concert because I just think it would have been so good. It's nostalgic, and it's just a really, really good album.
I watch how the moon sits in the sky on a dark night, shining with the light from the sun. The sun doesn't give light to the moon, assuming the moon's gonna go with one.
Next up is an album that not only surprised me that it made my top 10, but it's just like a really weird genre that I normally hate. So the album is Howie Day's Australia, and Howie Day is not a singer that I tend to like, and I don't like singers in his genre. Like, I don't like Jack Johnson really that much. I don't like, you know, John Mayer, just like those guys with like acoustic guitars. Not my cup of tea. But for some reason, Howie Day's Australia has made it into my number 10, and I think the reason why is because it's a very raw album. So you have that guy singing to acoustic, but it's more of like a live album, so his voice is really rough. His voice is not perfect at all, just uncut, which I really like. And he uses one of those loop machines where, you know, you like hit something and then you loop it so it makes that noise over and over again. So he uses one of those machines in his album, and it's just awesome. It's one of my favorite like chill albums. A lot of times, like if I'm driving really late at night, I'll put in Howie Day's Australia because it's just calm, but it's not overly calm. It still has that like really rough sound to it that I like. Like, I don't like Howie Day's more popular songs, and if he came out with an album now, I probably wouldn't buy it just because I'm not a huge fan. And sometimes I don't like it when vocals are super perfect. Sometimes I like it when they're a little bit flawed or a little bit like roughed up, and I think that's kind of why I like this album so much.
What could be so wonderful about this? What could be so wonderful?
So number 6 on my list is actually a band that's on my top 10 twice. And this is one of my favorite bands of all time. This is, honestly, like, this is so hard. So my number 6 spot, I decided to go with Sublime's 40 Ounces to Freedom. And I was debating between this album and No Doubt's Return of Saturn. But I'm gonna pick 40 Ounces to Freedom because I feel like I listen to 40 Ounces of Freedom more often than I do No Doubt's Return of Saturn. So 40 Ounces to Freedom is such a great album. My favorite song by far is DJ's. I love it. And Sublime is definitely, I think it's probably my 3rd favorite band out of all the bands in the world. And I remember when I was young in high school, me and my friend Will, hi Will if you're watching this, I doubt you are, but we used to take art class together all the time, and he was a drummer in a band, and he would always play music in art because our teacher would let us play whatever we wanted. And Will would always put in Sublime or 311. And we would just listen to Sublime or 311 every single day in art class, and it was just so fun. Sublime is just one of those bands, I feel like, that were just cut off too early. Like, they probably had just so much more music in them. Oh, I just love it. So yes, 40 Ounces to Freedom.
A little competition comes my way, but it always winds up the same. But the stone that the builder refused shall be the echo.
So my number 5 album is an album that I've listened to. It's literally one of those albums that carries on through time. Like, you could listen to this album for the rest of your life just because it's a beautiful album. And I feel like everybody kind of likes this album at least a little bit. And it's Evanescence, Fallen. This was like my workout CD when I was in college. Like, this is what I would like work out to all the time. And I just love the symphonic aspect of it, her vocals, like the hard rock aspect to it. Like, Bring Me to Life is still to this day one of my favorite songs. Just an impeccable album. Like, I can't say enough about this album, and it's also one of my girls' favorite albums too. Like, they always want me to play this album in my car. They love it. And they actually just came out with a new album. I think it's called Synthesis, I think. And I downloaded it. It's kind of like a redoing of old songs. Like, they have Lacrimosa on there. They redid like Bring Me to Life and a bunch of other stuff, but it's a pretty good album. Check it out if you like Evanescence. It just came out like last month, I think. So yes, really, really good. So number 4 on the list is actually kind of funny because I got into this album when I was really little. This was the very, very first CD that I ever bought. And before I actually bought the CD, I had the tape. And it's TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool. I am the biggest TLC fan of all time. Putting on Crazy Sexy Cool is the most nostalgic thing for me because it's literally my childhood. But the funny thing about it is, and the reason I didn't put it like higher up on the list, is because I only listened to the A side of the tape when I was little. Like I never thought to like turn it over and listen to the B side. So I only know really, really well the first half of the CD, which is so funny to even admit, but like, it's so good. It's so 90s, like Creep, like that trumpet riff at the beginning, Kick Your Game, Red Light Special, Waterfalls. It's all just so good. And if I put this album in, it's just like, I'm done because I'm just having all of the feels come back. And I wanted to be Left Eye so bad. I have pictures of me and my friend dressing up as Left Eye, and we did like the little line under our eyes, and we were like, so yes, TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool. So number 3 is a repeat band, and it's Sublime's Self-Titled. And I feel like Sublime's Self-Titled album is probably the most well-known, and it's the one that I probably listen to the most out of all of their albums, and I just really, really like their Self-Titled album. It's just such a chill album. It's like my summer album. Michael Bublé is to winter as Sublime is to summer. You know what I mean? And I just love their Self-Titled album. It's just the chill vibes. This was another art class CD that we used to listen to all the time. I love the reggae aspects of it. I love his voice. I love the lyrics. I can't pick any like one song on the album that I like the most. Like I could listen to that whole album all the way through on repeat. It's just that good.
You hate me 'cause I got what you need. A pretty little daughter that we call Mixie. If you wanna get beat physically.
So my number 2 album is, in my opinion, one of the best albums ever made. I just think it is such a flawless album, and I literally think it should go down in history as one of the best albums ever written. And it is Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. And I was the biggest Alanis Morissette fan growing up. I used to have posters of her all over my wall. I'm surprised my mom even let me listen to her music, because like listening to it now, I'm like, really, Mom? And I remember my favorite song when I was younger was You Learn. That was my favorite on the album, but now my favorite is Not the Doctor. There's just something so raw about that album, and it's just so angsty, and it's just so 90s, and just listening to that album literally over and over and over and over and over again, and I could still listen to that album over and over and over again. Like, it's so good. And I remember she came out with the acoustic version of Jagged Little Pill, like, I think it was like 2006 or so, 2005, and they sold it through Starbucks. And I remember picking that up, and then she went on tour for that acoustic Jagged Little Pill album, and I went to it, and I got to watch Alanis Morissette perform Jagged Little Pill acoustically, and it was the best moment of my life. Jagged Little Pill, if you are young and you've never listened to that album, just listen to it all the way through. It's just an amazing, amazing album, and Alanis Morissette just has such a way with writing. If you fast forward the very, very last song, a secret song will actually come up, and it's called Your House, and it's really, really pretty. So
visiting hours are 9 to 5, and if I show up at 6:10, will I already know that you would find some way to sneak?
So before we get into number 1, I'm gonna go ahead and do my honorable mentions, and these are all albums that feel like I should have them in my top 10, but they didn't quite make the cut, or they're from bands that I just loved pieces, but I didn't want to put like all of their albums in my top 10. So these are my honorable mentions. They're all really, really good, and you should all check them out even though they're not in my top 10. Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers, Natalie Imbruglia, Left of the Middle, TLC Fan Mail, Return of Saturn by No Doubt, Audioslave's self-titled album, Incubus, Crow Left of the Murder, Inside Out by Eve 6, 311 From Chaos, and Mr. Wives' Our Own House. So number 1 favorite album of all time. I bet you guys can't guess. A lot of you guys are gonna be able to guess this so fast. Comment down below if you think you know what it is before I say it. But it is from my favorite band of all time, and this album is actually the album that defines my life. It is the soundtrack to my life. And if I wouldn't have discovered this album when I did, I think it was like 11 or 12, like I wouldn't be the same person, you know what I mean? and it is No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom. It made me love No Doubt. I followed everything that they did, like their entire career. I'm obsessed with Gwen Stefani. I want to be Gwen Stefani. One of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is actually their Live in the Tragic Kingdom concert, which I actually tweeted on Twitter a few months ago. I don't know if anyone watched it, but it's so good. And I love every song on it. I love the vibe of it. I love 90s Gwen so much. California 90s vibe, that's so good, and I think that's why I like Sublime so much. Like, I can't rave about this album enough. I can't tell you how it's shaped my life enough. This album is literally what made me who I am today. Like, no joke. I've seen No Doubt in concert like 3 or 4 times, and they're just my favorite people, and if I could meet one person in this entire world, I would pick Gwen Stefani, like, hands down.
Sunday morning, sure I've changed since yesterday. Without even warning,
That's it, guys. I hope you guys like this. Let me know if you want to see more of these. This was a really hard video to make, and I'm sure I'm going to watch it like in a year from now and be like, why did you put that one there? You should have put that one there. Like, what were you thinking? But I'm trying my best, and this is how I feel at this moment in time. So let me know what you guys think of this video, what you guys would put in your top 10, if you guys would agree with me on any of them. So I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to follow my other social media accounts, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!
Missing someone.